Hello everyone and welcome to the video lecture series of Mobile Application Development. Students, in our previous all sessions we have studied about how can we design the layouts in the Android. We have seen like list view, grid view, linear layout, relative layout as well as grid layout, the tab layout. With that we have also seen about the constraint layout and so many tools. With this, we have also talked about that what are the UI components like edit text, image button, if we can say a button, images, etc. So now, what is our goal? Our goal is to develop the complete application. And in the path of the development of the complete application, what we need? We need the database. That means I'm not talking about the only about the database, but the storage facility in Android. Why the storage is very much important? Just because the storage in any application, it will give you some amount of data, okay, as well as when we talk about some dynamic application. Students, when we talk about the dynamic application, the static application contains the same layout, okay, as well as, but the static in the dynamic, the difference is that the data transition occurs in dynamic but not in a static. Just taking an example, just imagine a situation where if we are using the Flipkart application, at the time when you try to save something over there, the data is stored, okay, inside your phone as well as on the server. So these both are the storage methods in the Android. But if you have make an application that doesn't store anything, then we can say that it might be a static application. So to utilize the Android operating system, we need? We need to develop an application that contains the proper storage mechanism. So obviously we have to learn about the storage in Android. And hi everyone, this is your instructor Janice Shah. So let's begin to understand that what do we mean by the storage in the Android and what are the different techniques to store in the Android. In this session, we are going to learn about the shared preferences, which is one of the storage mechanism in Android. So let's begin. So students, when we talk about the storage in the Android provides the various operations to you to store the data. So the very first operation, I can say the very first option to store the data is a shared preference. So students, when we talk about the shared preferences, the shared preference is, we can say, like it might be used to store the data in the shared preferences. If you remember the, we can say, the session concept in the web development, okay. So what happening over there? You are just going to create a session. The session variable is there. Inside the session variable, you can store some amount of data, and you can utilize that data throughout the whole session. You can say here the whole project. So shared preference works little bit similar like that. How? Let me tell you. See the shared preference. We need to create the shared preference over there. The shared preference contains the data in the form of the key and the value. So when you talk about the key and the value, that means if my key is name and the value is LJ, okay, so whenever in the whole scope of the application, within the scope of the application, students, whenever I'm going to try to fetch the value for the name, it will always returns LJ. Fine. So shared preference most probably used to store the small amount of data, or we can say the lightweight data. Okay. The next option, we have the internal storage. So internal storage, that means your phone has or application has some inbuilt storage mechanism over there. So the operating system and the application can store the files internally in the folder. I am going to show you that how can you find out your file, or we can say the internal storage file. Next, in the external storage, so students, when we talk about the external storage, the very first thing comes in our mind is SD card. Yes, obviously. The memory card. The memory cards are known as the external storage in the Android. You can, you just need the permission to read and write the data in this, and you can easily access the files through the SD cards. Next, students, when we talk about the SQL database storage, so what do we mean by the SQL database storage? See, these external storage, internal storage, and the shared preference are okay. But when we want to store some structurized data, when we want some operation over the data, okay, then structurized data can be stored using the SQL databases. The next and the very last option to store the data from the Android application, that is the network APIs. Most probably what is happening over here, students, whenever the Flipkart, if you are using the Flipkart, if you can see that every day the prices are changing a lot. If I'm searching for the Redmi smartphone, okay, Redmi 9 Pro, and I'll get the details like 9,000 rupees are there. Okay, on the very next day, due to some issues, it might be 8500, it might be 9500. So what is happening over here? The price is continuously changing, the products are continuously changing, the various categories are added on the website or mobile application. These all things managed by the API, or we can say the web services. The data transferring from the server to the mobile application is a, we can say, the API, or the, we can say, the web services. This all data is stored on the network, and we have our smartphone. So we need to establish a communication between the smartphone and the network devices, or we can the server. That will be happen with the network storage. Okay, so let's move towards the very first topic, that is known as the shared preference. So what do we mean by the shared preference? So shared preference, whenever you try to store the data, some small amount of data, okay, then you do not want to store in the internal storage. At the time, you focus by storing it in the shared preferences. Shared preferences are used to store the data in the form of key and the value. Here, the data stored in the shared preference will remain same until the application is present on your smartphone device. If you uninstall the application, then all the shared preferences will be removed from the devices. See, you have facility to add the shared preference, you have facility to clear the data from the shared preference. But if somehow you do not want to clear the data by doing the coding, whenever students you try to uninstall your mobile phone application, the shared preference data are gone. Okay, so the scope of the shared preference data are, whenever you try to start the application and whenever you install the application, this is the scope of the shared preference variable. Okay, it is recommended to store not to store more than 100 KB of the data in the shared preferences. Okay, when the data you want to store is very small, then and then, students, I prefer you should go with the shared preferences. Now, how can we create the shared preference? So basically two methods are there. One is get shared preferences, like one is get preferences, and second one is get shared preferences. So when we talk about the get preferences, is a method is for the activity level preferences, that each and every activity will have its own preference file, and by default this method retrieves the default shared preference file that belong to the particular activity. Now, when we talk about the shared preference, that method is used to get the values from the multiple shared preference file by passing the name as a parameter in the identifier file. Fine. So, by using these methods, you can create your shared preference. Now, next, how to create the shared preference? So, this is my basic example. Like you can write just shared preferences, shared preference. This is my object is equal to get shared preferences. Okay, this is my key, sorry, this is my name of the shared preference, and this is the context mode. But how you want to that this shared preference variable is accessible to throughout the application? No, I just wanted to make it mode private. That means it is accessible to only the application scope. Fine, no other application can access it. Okay, now next. So next is how to write in the shared preference. Students, first you just need to create the shared preference variable which we have already created before. Now, what is your goal? Your goal to open the shared preference, to write something. That means to create a key value pair inside the shared preference. Fine. First we have created the shared preference. Now, our goal is to write down the key value pair inside the shared preference. Fine. So what I'm going to do is, for this, you just need to open your shared preference in the editor mode. So how to open the shared preference editor mode? Let's see it. You just need to write down the object. The editor is a class. In a class, we can say, so this is our shared preference class dot editor. Editor is object is equal to object shared preference object dot edit. Such like this, you can open the shared preference in the editor mode. Then whatever the data you want to write, you can write down, you can call the methods for that by calling the editor dot. See, if your variable is boolean, then write put boolean. If it is integer, just write put integer. If it is string, just write put string. So this is your key name and this is your value. This is your key name, this is your value. This is your key name, this is your value. See, after adding the data in the shared reference, what do you need to do? You just need to commit at last. Fine. So do not forget to open the shared preference in the editor mode. Write the shared preferences inside it by using the key and value pair, by calling the put methods for the different number of variables, and then write down commit. Okay. Now, the very next topic is how to read. So same like that, whenever you try to read something, you just need to call the get method. See, to write something, we have the put method. To read something, we have the get methods. Fine. So you just need to write down like get method, key name, and the null. See, the null values is null 0 0. It's a default values. If somehow the data is not available, then this default data is shown to the user. Fine. Next is we can say like how to delete the inside the shared preferences. So to delete, we have the remove method. So you just need to write down the remove and the key name inside it, that will remove the shared preference. But to remove the shared preference, you just need to open it in the editor mode, and then you can remove it. To clear the shared preferences, clear method is used to clear all shared preferences, we can say, from the application. Okay, so this is the method. You just need to open it in the editor mode, then write down the clear and do commit over there. See, this one type of a transaction, so do not forget to commit after each and every operation. Okay, not in a read. Okay, now next. Now, let's see the example for the shared preferences. So what we are going to see over today, we are going to see the shared preference example where we are going to make a splash screen over there, then the login and the logout. Sir, why did you take this example to explain the shared preference? Students, just imagine situation, if you are using an installed any application, then what happens? See, just install, you have the Facebook in your smartphone, yes or no? Yes. Now, do you need to log in the Facebook again and again? No. Once you logged in the Facebook, it will store the data in the shared preferences. So now, whenever you get back to the Facebook, what you need to do is, you just need to click on the Facebook icon and directly log in the application. So just imagine a situation, if the very first, whenever you try to log in the Facebook very first time after the installation, what happens? The one screen shown to you, that is known as the splash screen. Okay. After visibility of the splash screen, students, we can able to see the login screen, and then we redirect to the our home screen. So what we have in our example, we have the splash screen, the login screen, and the home screen. Fine. The login screen but have the one button which contains the login button. The home screen has a button which contains the logout button. So what is our goal? That if user clicked on the login, then the shared preference data are stored inside the for the login screen. So now, whenever user gets back again to the application icon, first he can see the splash screen and then redirect to the logout screen, or we can say the home screen. Fine. So, what is our aim? Our aim to develop the three different screens: splash screen, login screen, and home screen. Skip login screen if the user is already logged in, or if not login, then first shows the splash screen, then login screen, and then home screen. Fine. So how we can go, or how we can develop the splash screen? So here is some little bit code for that. See, The code is I'm taking the linear layout over there. Okay, taking one text view in the main activity dot xml. So here in activity underscore xml file, I have one text view that contains the data splash screen. Okay, that's a linear layout. I did nothing much more. Okay, now when you talk about the activity underscore main activity dot java file, then in this main activity dot java file, I just want to write the code for the splash screen. So how we can do that? First, to develop the splash screen, you just need to give the background color to your activity. Then, see, you just need to write like new handler dot post delayed. This will method is used to design the splash screen. Okay, like post delayed and call the runnable interface over it. Whenever this thread run, you first what you need to do, you just need to start the activity. Delayed it for the 4,000 seconds. Sorry, 4,000 milliseconds. That means for the 4 seconds. So this splash screen is visible to you for the 4 seconds. Now, this is the main thing where we need to apply the shared preference logic. Why? Because what is our goal? Our goal is to set the shared preference whenever the splash screen is settled. Whenever the user can see this, we can say like a splash screen. Then what happens? It will check whether the shared preference is true or not. Okay. So what is our shared preference name over here? Our shared preference name is the key is flag. Okay, and the shared preference name is login. So login is our shared preference name, and inside the login you can create multiple key values pair over there. I have created the flag as a key. So how to create the shared preference? See, I have written like shared preferences object is equal to get shared preference, name is login, mode is private. Fine. Now next is boolean login check is equal to shared preferences dot get boolean, because what I need the to create a flag bit over there. If you have already logged in, then this flag bit converted to true. Otherwise, by default, it is false. See, I'm just creating it for the first time. That's why it's by default false. Now, creating the intent. So why you need intent? Because we need to move from the one activity to another activity. That's why we need intent. So now the here what we need to do, intent is equal to new intent main activity dot this comma home screen dot class. See, if the login is true, if the login check variable is true, then what we need to do, we just need to directly redirect from splash to home screen. If it's not, then move from main activity dot this to login activity dot this class file. Fine. So then do not forget to write down the start activity intent. What happens with this? Whenever you try to click on application button, the first splash screen will pop out. It will take 4 seconds to move either to home screen or login screen. Fine. Now what happens? It will check the shared preference data. See, the shared preference is created by default is false. So very first condition, the login check is false. So it will move to the login activity dot file. Fine. Now let's move to the next code. Next, students, I have created one home screen.xml file. This home screen.xml file contains a single button which name is logout. Okay, so I'm just taking one button over there and write a code for the logout. Now, see, let me just show you first the login, then we'll get back to this remove shared reference data. So, whenever you try to log in, this is my login screen. It contains only one button. The login button is there, and this is my main login.java file. So what I need to do over here, students, whenever the user try to click on a login button, the share preference data set from false to true. Okay, so what I need to do over here, I just need to open my shared preference first on the click of the button event. So I need to map my button. This is my button. Just mapped it with the XML file. Then the set on click listener over it. Public void on click shared preferences login comma mode private. then open it in the editor mode, that means we can see the writing mode, then put boolean flag comma true, okay, and apply the editor, or we can say the commit. You can write anything, you can write also apply or commit, both of them. So I just change my flag bit from false to true, okay, and redirect from login to the home screen. So just redirect from login to home screen. Fine. Now let me show you the code for the home screen. Okay, so this is my home screen where one logout button is there. So what you need to do, students, if you logged out, then you need to log in again. It means here what I write a code. If you click on a logout button, then students, you just need to remove the shared preference or make the value of shared preference from true to false. So they are going to make the shared preference value from true to false. How? See, first open the shared preference like login underscore mode private, then open it in the editor mode. So I just click on the edit and put boolean value change from true to false and write down the apply. Fine. So this is my code. Okay, and now let me just move towards the practical video that how we can implement this. So let's begin the practical. So hello students, this is our practical for the login and the shared preference example 1. So what I'm going to do is over here, see, this is my login screen. Okay, this is my main activity.xml file that contains only the splash screen. Always remember, whenever you try to develop a splash screen, students, you just need to give the background color something and then do the text view over there. Okay, so this is the splash screen. Our main code is all about the main activity.java file. See, you just need to create a splash screen, just need to write down like new handler dot post delayed, then write down the calling the public void run method, students. The shared preferences will get shared preference login comma mode private. This is how you can create the shared preferences. Now, this is the shared preference name only. Inside the one single shared preference, you can create multiple values. So how to create? You just need to write down like this. See, if I want to create something, so I just need to write down like this. Like, so students, to create the shared preference, first you just need to open it into the editor mode. What is happening over here? We are not going to create, we are just going to take the default value of the flag bit. So we just need to write down shared preference dot get boolean key flag default value is false. Fine. So if you want to write down something in the shared preference, then you just need to open it in the editor mode. So here what I need, I just at a runtime my flag bit is already settled. I just need to take the value from it. If the value is not settled, then the default value is false. So in the get boolean students method, get method, you can set the default values. So by default value, I set it to the false, and my shared preference value key is flag. Okay. So now this is my intent login check activity. When you try to click on the in new intent, it will redirect from the main activity to home screen, and here is from main to login if my shared preference is not set. Fine. So let me just show you the login activity. So this is my login activity.xml file, and this is my login activity.java file. So what I did, I just set on click listener, shared preference, get shared preference, login comma mode private. See, this will just open the shared preference. Now it will open into the editor mode because I want to set some key values. If you want to set another key value, then you can write like this editor dot put integer. I can say you can take anything. Okay, I just take instead of flag, let me just take the active, and active the value is 0. Okay, so this will create the integer. The key is active and the value is 0. Okay, so it's like this, students. You can create your shared preferences as well. Okay, if you want to create some shared preference in the string mode, then you can also create like this. See, editor dot put string, the key value is name comma value is, we can take it as LJIET. Okay, fine. So this is our key and value pair. Key is name and the value is LJIET. And now just you need to click on the editor.apply button. Okay, so this will redirect from you here to there. Okay, so you can just go from the login activity. At the time of the login, you just set the flag with true, and another we are going to take another preference like name LJIET. Okay. Now, when you talk about the home screen, it will go from the here to here. So this is my home screen. Now let me do something. See, let me just take one. If you want to take, where is my logout screen? This is my home screen. Let me just take one text view over here. Okay, like text view, wrap content. Uh, then text size should be 20 dp. Okay, let me just see it where it will created and how it looks like. So just wait a minute. Okay, it is just created behind the logout button. So let me just give it to the text size and the text. See, the default text is hello. Okay, default text is hello, and let me just give the margin start is 20 dp. So students, it is above the logout button. Okay, so what I did, see, this is my home activity XML file. This is my logout button. Above the logout button, I just take my text view. Okay, and the text view is ID is home screen T text view. Now, next, inside the home screen activity, what I did, I just take the home screen map with the home screen ID. Okay, define a text view, home screen text view, mapped with the home screen text view, and then just take a string. Name is equal to shared reference dot get string. Key is name. You just need to pass the default value. Default value is none, students. Now set that set text name over here. Now what's happening? See, whenever the user try to log in, the default name is, see, whatever I have settled is, see, the inside the home screen XML file we have written the text is hello. So instead of hello, it will show you the LJIET logout. Fine. So this is how, students, you can do the shared preferences. You can pass the shared preferences from one activity to another activity as well. Now let me just run the program and show you that how it works. And here it is. See, first we can see the splash screen, and then we redirect to the login screen. Okay, now what's happening right now, students? My phone is at the login screen. Okay, now when I click on the login button here, when I click on the login button, see, you can see the hello and logout. Fine. So this is how, students, you can set the shared preferences. Fine. Now let me just click on the logout first. Okay. So on the click of the logout, students, we have set the LJIET. So now we have successfully logged. So students, finally my application is launched successfully over here. So if you can see, let me just run the activity again. Just wait for a few minutes. Right now the application is currently going on. Let me just terminate it. See, first you can see the splash screen, and then you will redirect to a login screen. Now let me just close the application and clear all application and click on the app again. Sorry, this is not a okay. So let me just click on the application. See, you again see the splash screen, and then you can see the login screen. Now, when I click on the login button, students, my shared preference is getting set. Okay, so now the shared preference flag will becomes true, and we will redirect it to the on home screen button. See, I am going to change the shared preference from hello to this when I click on the logout. So see, when I click on the logout, you can see the LJIT button. But now let me just clear the application again. See, I have already logged out from the app and clear the application. And now see, you again see the splash screen and then redirected to your login screen. So what is happening over? I have already logged out from the app. Now, once I log in, my shared preference is set. So whenever students, if I want to log in again, sorry, whenever I click on this particular application again, what happens? You can see the splash screen and then directly move towards the home screen because our shared preference is already set. So this is the benefit of the shared preference, that you have already settled the application, you have already settled the shared preference for the login. So flag bit is now true, and you can see the logout window direct, or I can say the home screen directly. Now see, let me just clear the application, let me just show it again. See, whenever let me just clear the application, wait a minute, clear all and run the application again. So it is just showing you the splash screen, and then you can able to see the home screen. Now when I click on the logout button, students, it will just become, my flag bit becomes false. So now what happens? Let's see, clear the shared preferences. Okay, now click on the splash screen, and now see, you have to see the login screen. Yes, obviously it's a login screen. Fine. So this is all about the practical of the shared preferences. So that's all about the shared preference. What we have seen today, we have talked about the storage different mechanism in the Android, and we have seen one example that how can you skip the login screen while you have already logged in your application. Fine. In the next video, we'll talk about the shared preference example number 2. Okay. We are going to take another example for the shared preference. So we'll get a very much clear idea for that. Okay. Still then, if you have any doubt, then please feel free to ask me. Thank you so much.